Hi, my name is Bill, and this is the third part of the third section of some of those life lessons I mentioned in the previous videos. The first part of this particular topic involved the reasoning behind why I think a strong core knowledge foundation is important. It prevents you from being in that vulnerable state when the world falls around you. I mentioned my own foundation in the second part, where it came from, Rene Descartes, Socrates, as told from a story from Plato, about immortality of the soul, divine inspiration, and a God that created me. All of this has established what I find is my core foundation of knowledge. Now, for you, it might be different. And I also mentioned the fact that I believe strongly, I know strongly, that some people have souls and some people do not. That being said, when I wrote this down 5 years ago to understand to understand better what it means, I made a flow chart. And this flow chart was pretty detailed, and I don't have time to really show it or even explain all of it, but I'll go into some minor points of it. The first point is when it branches off, the first branch, of course, is whether or not you have a soul. Some people don't have soul, like I said. And I keep on thinking about a video of a white man and a black man dancing, but I don't mean that. I mean a spirit, a soul. If you don't have a soul, then we could say you're an atheist. Why do I say that? Well, if you looked at my last video, I mentioned not having a soul means there's no reason for you to believe in God. Therefore, why would you believe there's a God if all you are is just a soggy bag of water, as a Star Trek episode mentioned one time? So if you don't have a soul and you don't believe in God, and you could term yourself an atheist, then life to you is just a body described medically as a carbon organism that functions to keep a brain alive and a consciousness going. And it allows us to, live and make decisions and affect the world in our own way. We eventually die and we fade to black. Well, this is pretty simple and basic. And that being said, that's all there really is to it. As an idea, we need to, in essence, embrace it. Take it from a simple concept and consider the consequences, the implications of this. Meaning that if your wife dies, she's fading to black. She's vanishing. She won't see her again. And coming to terms with that and knowing that's the case, you should be better equipped to deal with it when it happens. When that bond breaks, well, you know why it breaks. The world is the way it is, and there is no afterlife. If your child dies, you need to embrace that. There is no afterlife. It's fade to black, end of story. Things happen in this world simply because. There is no fundamental reason. It's not God punishing you. It's a consequence of human activity, and that's all it is. Embracing this is important. Going past the concept is important. Forming a foundation that says there is no afterlife, there is no God, I'm going to cease to be. And that's all there is to it. And everybody around me is going to cease to be too. That's fine. That's who you are. That's great. I happen to believe not everybody is the same. You might believe we're all the same. You think I'm spouting off nonsense when I mention I believe in a God or a spirit. But that's not important. What's important is you believe what you believe, but you need to embrace that belief to knowledge and even be come to the point of being self-righteous about it. Now, another branch there is, you have a soul. And this could lead in many different directions. This could lead to a Christian, Judeo-Christian Islamic belief that there is a heaven or a hell, and you will go to whatever place based upon your actions and deeds in this world. And this is something you may have been taught as a kid and told by school teachers or pastors or preachers or priests or imams or rabbis or what have you. But whenever they told you, it's up to you to decide if it's true or not. It's up to you to take your own personal experiences and determine what is or isn't true. Do you have proof that you have a soul or spirit? Or do you not have proof? Maybe you don't have a soul, even though you've been told as much. Whatever the case, you need to kind of embrace it a little bit. You need to actually embrace it, hold it true, and defend it with all your life. But also be willing to consider at some point that you might be wrong, which I'll go over in another section. Now, of course, there are other options, of course. There is reincarnation. The idea that our spirits, jump from body to body through the course of who knows how long. Maybe we, in the case of Hindus, will pop up in a cow, or a richer person, or a poorer person, or a frog, or an insect, who knows. Maybe there's this cycle where our spirits just bounce around from a body to purgatory to another body to purgatory. We just keep doing this indefinitely. I happen to have a side belief that this world is an education system of sorts where we learn, our souls learn things, and we constantly are renewed and put back into it until we learn enough to achieve another state of existence. Who knows? I've seen that on sci-fi programs, and I've read that in certain books, religious text, and even discussed it with others in conversation. I don't know if that's true. I can't really attest to that, though possibility is there. There is also the possibility of, and I can't talk in too much detail about it because don't understand it as well as I could have, or could, about the fact that the world is a big illusion, and that even though we think we have a consciousness, we really don't. I don't know if I can really back this up. It's difficult. It's beyond me, to be honest. And then, of course, there is another idea regarding we're just living in a dream. And when we die, we wake up in some other form and we live that life out. And every reality is just a dream from someone else until they wake up. And of course, there is the whole matrix idea, which I don't like to mention because it's so Hollywood and sci-fi, but it's a valid idea. You know, we're stuck in a machine living in a virtual world. These are all possibilities, okay? And I'm not going to say they're true because I don't believe them, but they're possibilities. Now, whatever it is that your personal experience tells you is true, you need to embrace. Whatever it is, and use that. Have that as your core foundation of knowledge. Because everything you do in your life is going to be built on it. Everything you learn as true, as knowledge, is going to be built on it. And as I mentioned in the first section, you need to have this. And it could be anything. And yes, I am revealing that I have a bit of a subjective reality belief. I believe that there is no one truth for everybody. Everybody has their own truth they must explore in order to be the best. In order to be the best you can be, the best person that you can be, you need to find out who you are and what you are. And part of that is accepting, no, not accepting, is knowing what your foundation is, what your core foundation of knowledge is. Because without it, you're lost. You need to know who and what you are. And that's what it ultimately boils down to. If you have it, great. If you don't, I suggest you really consider what you are and who you are. And most importantly, what you truly know without question. And with that, I'll say bye. And remember, be better today than you were yesterday.